a time that you need to be off?
Nah, we could do an hour. Is that all right?
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Fred.
I'll go.
Okay.
I can go on forever if you want.
Okay, so we're going to start. I'm just going to confirm that I'm streaming it to YouTube.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. I just want to confirm that. Okay, we are good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be speaking today with one of the pioneers of the raw living foods movement, Dr. Fred Bisci. Dr. Fred Bisci wrote an amazing book called Your Healthy Journey. I highly recommend this book. It's such a concise piece of work on how to get back to your natural state, which is health. Okay, you're supposed to be healthy. And this book is very, very powerful. It's about discovering your body's true potential. And so thank you so much, Fred, for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You know, I'm always busy, always trying to, keep up with what's going on here in New York, which is not always easy. But, I'm got a busy practice, and I got a lot going on in my personal life, so that I have to keep up with. So I'm happy. It's great to be alive and feel well. As time goes on, seen a lot in my life.
Absolutely.
I was talking to a friend of mine's father the other day about World War II, and you look back when you lived a long life. There's a lot of memories, and some are really good, some are not that good,
Yeah, absolutely. We're lucky to be here still. There's a lot of people that didn't wake up today.
That's true.
So I want to start with, so when did you start following a vegan diet?
Well, I actually went from a diet where I was eating a moderate amount of animal protein. I went 100% raw right off the bat, and that was I'd say roughly about 58 years ago.
Oh my God. How old were you, Fred?
Well, I'm 92 now. I'll be 93 in October. So, it's going back. I was, 50. I was in my, I guess I was in my late 20s, early 30s, but the way I look at it. But I always ate I always ate a pretty clean diet, because I was very, very interested in nutrition, mainly because I was a kind of an all-around athlete. I participated in a lot of sports, and I wanted to enhance my performance. But the results I got from going into it was very traumatic going into, oh my God, what happened here? Oh, what's going on? I'm losing power here. Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
The video seemed to have shut off.
Oh my goodness. I don't want to lose this. Oh my God. There we go. Okay, so what happens? Yeah, that's all we need to lose it. So what happened is that I was very interested in research, and I had gone to school. And what I learned, there was a lot of controversy in what I learned in school. For instance, I was going in a class, and I had already done a lot of fasting because I was following a lot of Otto Buchner, a lot of people in Europe. I was very fascinated by fasting because I was looking to change a lot of things about myself. And one of the things I was born a dyslexic. I had a learning problem, and so I was very interested in fasting, and I followed Otto Buchner, Sergei Falaninov, a bunch of European guys, and I was really fascinated. I was kind of in a conflict because what I would learn in school, a lot of it really didn't work. It was basically, and the diet that they advocated was totally different. It was very high in animal protein. You were supposed to eat a little bit of each food in every meal, a little starch, a little protein, a little fruit, which utterly was ridiculous. So what I did, I decided to, follow some of the Europeans, and I was following a natural hygienist in this country, but there was a big conflict even amongst the natural hygienists, whether you should be eating starches or fruit if you got into a raw diet. And then it was even conflict about whether you should be eating or safely could eat a raw diet. So then I decided to do my own research, and I was going to be the subject of my research. So what I did, I started a lot of fasting. And I was, at that time, when I first got into the raw diet, I was about 200 pounds. I was solid muscle because I used to work out a lot. And then when I got into fasting, I was fascinated by fasting. The first couple of fasts I did were difficult, but after that, they got very, very easy. So then I figured I was going to take a biochemistry class at college. And the professor said you couldn't last more than 15 days without eating and just drinking water. And I had already gone about 30 days. So I was kind of, saying, what am I doing in this class? So then I brought it up to her. She was a woman professor, that there was fasting retreats in Europe and Russia, in Germany, in Sweden, that people were fasting that had problems, and they got a lot of help with their problems. And some of these people went 25 and 30 days. And she says, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. So I kind of kept my mouth shut. And then I came back. When I came back, it was a couple of weeks later, and it was kind of bothering me because I already had gone 30, 35 days. So then she brought it up again. And she said, a lot of people are misinformed, as Mr. Bisci was. So that kind of got the best of me. So I said to her, listen, wait a minute, just a second here. I said, I'm not misinformed. I want to have a problem here. I come here to learn. But when you make a statement that you can't go more than 15 days without food, it's just not true. And she said, you know anybody that did it? I said, yes, me. She said, Mr. Bisci, that's not true. I suggest you leave my class. So I walked out of my class, and that was the end of that nonsense. So then I became, I started, I was on a raw food diet. I was losing weight, felt unbelievable after the first month or two, but this is an ongoing process. I honestly don't believe a raw food diet is for everybody, to be honest with you. I believe you have to be, realize what, fairly well educated, what you're getting yourself into. It's a lifestyle that can prolong your life, where you can live to a very advanced age, have your full faculties and everything. But a lot of people don't realize that once you do this for a long period of time, going back, especially if you've had an illness, can be very complicated and in some respects be on the dangerous side. So I started my practice, and I created what I call my intermediate level diet, which is really an introductory diet. And it was a diet that was clean, devoid of all processed food. And it gave you the option to have 2 or 3 meals a day. Then it also gave you the option, because some people that still come to me, they don't want to become vegans. They want to eat some animal protein. Then there was the conflict about how much animal protein is safe, which is still a bit of a problem with some people. Now you've got people out there recommending the carnivore diet. A lot of people, there are people that are going for it, and it seems to work in the beginning. They don't understand why it's really working. So I created the intermediate level diet, where a person had the option, if they choose to eat some animal protein every other day. But I kind of, I had developed a spiritual morality about me personally consuming the flesh of an animal. And now I'm adamant about that for me. No, I don't make choices for other people. So what happens, that became more and more part of my spirituality. And when people came to me that were very sick, I told them that if you go to a vegan diet that has enough raw foods in it, and you don't overeat, you don't eat late at night, you don't eat in between meals, you hydrate yourself, get enough rest, get enough sunshine without getting burned. And I was getting miraculous results, and I was charging people, like in those days, $30 an hour. And I couldn't handle all the people who wanted to come to see me. I wasn't advertising. I didn't know anything about the internet. It was just by word of mouth. Word of mouth spread very, very rapidly, and people would come to see me. And of course, I was a little, ignorant about what was going on. For instance, I had a woman came to me that had asthma, and she got better very quickly. I didn't know that she was a nurse that worked for a doctor that was an asthma specialist. And then all of a sudden, I started getting recommendations from that. I thought it was from that office. And I said, gee, I should call this man up and thank him. I call up and he got very angry with me. You know, turns out it was coming from the nurse and she wasn't telling the doctor people weren't getting better. So I started to learn as time goes on, the conflict that we've been indoctrinated into an abstract science, the healthcare that was really an abstract science. They were still pushing people that, you know, people thought you were crazy trying to live on a raw food diet. There were people that were doing it. There was a lot of confusion out in California. The Beach Boys, you know, were trying to live out there half naked in caves and eating a lot of fruit. And, you know, there's all kinds of wild stuff going on. So, I mean, I come to realize how profound to understand the human body, what a miraculous biological organism it was, and what we were, you know, what we were designed to really do. And I looked around, you know, I got fascinated. I've always been fascinated about animals and everything. And I realized that animals have each animal has a very specific, you know, biological anatomical design, and they have a species specific diet. So every animal, based on the design of the human body, was designed to eat a very special diet. And I knew we weren't any different. So once you really break the human body down and look at the way the human body is made, you know, we're not designed to eat a lot of animal protein or any at all, because we don't look like the big cats, the lions and tigers, or any of the big cats. So I realized, you know, the controversy about how much protein you need is based on what you've been doing. If you've been eating animal protein 3 times a day and you're not eating any carbohydrates, somebody puts you on a vegan diet, you're going to feel like you're dying from some kind of a deficiency, which is really a transition in your chemistry. And there's a lot of people that still don't know that. That's why I'm not dogmatic. I don't think there's one diet for everybody, you know, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think a raw diet, everybody could do a raw diet if they choose to do it, if they're emotionally, psychologically ready to do it and they're grounded to do it. Yeah, I think they could do it. But there's a lot of people that, you know, might need slight deviations from the diet. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody could be a vegan, you know, whether you type blood type, well, everybody could be a vegan. You know what I mean? That's a lot of that is just double-blind studies are very misleading. A lot of statistics do not bring into play all the variables. So now I've been doing this for, you know, seeing people, you know, for close to 60 years. And I see all kinds of people coming on all kinds of, committing on all kinds of diets. And I could break down any one of those diets out there and explain to you why they work. And there's a common denominator. Every lifestyle program that works, there is a common denominator, and they all work to one degree or another. And that's what you leave out. So there's a lot. Your primary needs, number 1, is to clean air. Number 2 is water. Number 3 is sleep. Sleep comes before food. You can't go more than a couple of weeks without getting sleep. Otherwise, you know, you'll lose your mind. Number 4 is not protein. Number 4 is adequate calories, and calories are not the same for everybody, to sustain yourself. So if you drink, you know, getting enough sleep, you're drinking water, and breathing clean air. There are people that are testing out the carnivore diet. They're getting enough calories, but it don't last. There's nothing new here. This is something that's been recycled with a new suit of clothes. I know 65, 70 years ago, people tried eating a diet of all meat. There was a guy named Arthur Saxon. He was one of the strongest men in the world. He was eating basically a carnivore diet. He ate like 20, 24 eggs for breakfast and 4 pounds of bacon. He had 8 to 10 pounds of meat for dinner. He had a fabulous physique. He was the strongest guy in the world, but he died at 41 from kidney failure. So there's a lot of people have to understand what you leave out, how important what that really is. Oh, gee, something happened there.
You're okay. You're okay, Fred.
It's okay?
I mean, no, I can't see you, but you know,
Oh,
I'm saying it's
what happened
okay.
now?
It's
always
okay.
something. Wait a minute. Wait a
But
minute.
it would be
This
good
is
to turn your camera
ridiculous.
back on.
Oh my God. Can you, you're okay? Wait a minute.
Well, I
wait a
can
minute.
hear you, but I can't see you.
Oh my God. How can that be? Why is this happening to us?
So, what does the screen say right now?
Huh?
What
I
do you see
you,
on the
but
screen?
I see oh my God, this is ridiculous. I didn't touch nothing. I don't understand what happened.
If you press the screen and then on the top next to there's a speaker and then, oh no, on the bottom, I guess it says start video. Maybe stop video and start it again on the bottom.
Wait a minute. Video quality, notifications, connected apps, try new features, live chat. Let me go to live chat. You think that might do it?
No. I think that if you press the screen, do you see where it says stop video or start video?
I don't. Now all I see is you. I don't. There's nothing on the screen except you.
Oh, swipe the screen.
Huh?
Swipe left or right. Yes. Okay.
How's that?
Okay. Perfect. So we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through.
I'm not touching anything here. So what happens?
Yes.
So now over the years, I mean, I've seen all kinds of people. People had every kind of disease you can imagine. And I always go back to the simple things. I used to fast people at home, go to their house, check their vital signs. I don't do that no more because it's too risky. But I have fasted a lot of people with success. But the key is, the problem is a lot of people don't realize the body actually, most people, when they're trying to get healthy, are actually getting in the way. They don't know it. They're being distracted by all these nutraceuticals, all these supplements out there that have some merit. But basically, if you're following the type of lifestyle that I try to get people to follow, to realize your body is designed to heal and to live a long time, if they're willing to go to the type of diet that I believe is biologically optimal for the human body, it's a plant-based diet and small amounts of the other food, then you're not going to need a lot of supplements. You're not going to need a lot. The whole term nutrition is very misleading. The reason people are really getting sick in this country today is not lack of nutrients, is they're actually intoxicating themselves. They're overwhelming their body and causing the body to break down based on their, epigenetically and genetically, based on, how much stress, how bad their lifestyle is. And the average American today, for what I see, their dietary lifestyle is pretty bad. Like yesterday morning, I had 3 people call me up and they had the neuroblastoma. I'm seeing more people are having brain cancer. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's because of these phones. These things are not completely safe. I never put my phone to my head because if I do, it gets warm. It warms up right away. Somebody turns on any kind of electronic things in the kitchen, I walk out of the room because I know, some people are not unaware that these things could be bothering them. We have a lot of problems now because of, technology is a wonderful thing. I think we just be taking, I keep a shield on my phone, So, I come to the conclusion that, what you leave out is actually just as important, or if not more important than what you eat. If you're eating a plant-based diet, unless you're doing something that's really dopey, it's pretty hard not to get all the vitamins and minerals that you need. And that includes the protein. I lived months on just getting my protein from vegetables. For months, maybe even years. But now, I always eat some nuts. I eat a few nuts. I eat sprouted nuts and things like that. I like avocados. I eat a variety of different foods. I don't worry about all these macro and micronutrients. As long as you're eating whole foods, I think all that is, it's just a distraction. A lot of people keeping track of what they're eating, how many calories, how many vitamins and minerals they're getting with their computer. All right, if that's what you want to do, but it's just a distraction. I think it makes people neurotic, to be perfectly honest with you.
I completely
think
agree.
It's very simple to lead a healthy life, if you could do it. Leave out all processed food. Don't overeat. There's a lot of people. I was just talking to a man in Italy. He's a professor in the university. His father-in-law had very advanced cancer. The guy's getting better. I gave him a simple program that's pretty clean. He's an old 75-year-old Italian man. The guy's going into remission. Of course, the doctor in Italy thinks it's from his chemotherapy. It's not. So there's so much confusion out there. And of course, in the health field, everybody, whether you should be eating fruit or don't eat any fruit, or, how much protein you're getting, how much animal protein can you eat? Should you be eating a tremendous amount of animal protein, like in a high protein or a ketogenic diet to force your body to burn body fat? Dr. Jason Fung, who's a brilliant guy, gets results doing that. Once you understand the concept of what you leave out, you'll see why some of these programs, one of these diets, people can claim results. They can claim results that are legitimate. If you get somebody that's eating I have people on all slightly different types of diets, all over the world. And I get them into like a zone where they're eating clean, they're moving their bowels, they're drinking enough water, they're getting out in the fresh air, they're doing some moderate amount of exercise, and you're not overeating, you're not eating late at night. There's some are eating a little bit of animal protein. Some of them are on a raw diet. It's euphoria, it's wonderful. But I don't think it's for everybody, to be honest with you. Because a lot of people, they just don't stay with. If you're on a raw diet for years and you go back, I think you're going to have serious trouble. Why do I think that? Because I've seen it happen to plenty of people. I had mold poisoning. I had to move out of this house. And it was amazing the way that worked. And there's a lot of people out there in the medical community who say that mold, don't make you sick. Sorry to say, yeah, that's true. Mold don't make you sick, but of course, it's secondary diseases that'll kill you. When the mold spores go through your airways, see my head? It ate a hole right through my skull. You see that? No, that was from mold. Until I moved, if I didn't move out of this house, it would have killed me. Now, the mold, because I was a really healthy guy, and this basement had a flood, and about a year later, the mold was all over the place in here. And I was coughing. Because I was real healthy, it didn't get me right away. But the secondary disease became entrenched in me, which almost killed me. They almost killed me in the hospital. I never was in the hospital. I didn't even have a cold. They got me in the hospital. They almost killed me. Got out. One doctor there, I'll never forget the guy. He was an Hispanic gentleman. He said, Mr. Bisci, if you were my father, I would go home. Got out. Had a mold remediation specialist come in here. The guy says, you got to get out of here. He says, when? He said, no, right now. This is the worst mold sport. There's molds in the air outside. And he says, the mold in this house, he says, it's the worst I've ever seen. So when they ripped out the sheetrock, they come in here with hazmat suits. And when people say the mold doesn't cause disease, they don't realize how this works. And all mold is not the same. So they ripped out the walls. Between the studs, the 2x4s, the mold was piled up. So we moved out of here. We moved into had to move into a hotel. Luckily, I knew the mold was here, and I didn't let my wife. I told my wife and kids, don't come down here. They didn't come down here. So, and then people were trying to get me to eat animal protein when I walked into the hospital. They took me out in a wheelchair. That's what happened. They probably saved my life, but they were pumping me so much medication to get rid of the secondary disease. They weren't handling the mold. Then I read Dr. Richie Shoemaker's book on mold. then I did a lot of studying about mold, developed a lot of experience, saw a mold remediation specialist that he wanted me to go back to eating animal protein too. Which kind of some of the stuff, nice man. I wasn't going to listen to him, though.
Wow. It's incredible to know that even you have been told to go back to eating animals, which happened to me and happened to many of my friends. They got sick. They saw a functional medicine doctor. They saw somebody and they said, oh, that's what's wrong. You need to eat protein. You need to eat flesh of an animal.
Well, but see, a functional medicine doctor, remember the science that I learned in school. I know science. It's abstract. If you study a science about tropical diseases and you live in Alaska, symptomatically, some of these things are just not going to happen. So the amount of protein you really need is not a lot, unless you're trying to be a bodybuilder and all that type of stuff. And there are people that are bodybuilders and they eat, they're on vegan diets. But the animal protein, the problem with the animal protein is, the doctors are under the impression that it's the only complete protein, that you're getting all the amino acids. But they're not taking into consideration the nitrogenous byproducts. The nitrogenous byproducts are stimulating because your body is trying to get rid of them. They're actually poisonous materials. They're the waste products in metabolism. So when you're going in your chemistry, the cells in your body take in nutrition, they give off a waste products, which are nitrogenous. And it's a shame that a lot of these people that say you can't live without animal protein don't try going through the process where the transitional process where your body actually becomes efficient on less protein from a vegan source. They don't. That's why a lot of people that are going through this process and they feel weak and they feel tired, they feel sick, and they give them a little piece of animal protein, they immediately feel better. It's like giving a cocaine addict that's going through withdrawal a little bit of cocaine. So, but you can't. It's not scientific, but there's the way they're looking at this.
Well, the way you said it was so good. You said, we don't really need protein. We need calories. We need calories. We need a food source. And yeah, when you're eating a bad source of calories, it's still calories, right? And so, okay, I want to ask you something, Fred, because there's a lot of conflicting information out there, as you know, right? There's studies proving that eating monomials help to heal the gut and heal digestion. There's studies proving that a wide variety feeds the microbiome and heals digestion and relieves gas and bloating. So I don't know personally what to believe anymore, but what are your thoughts on the difference between, like eating a monomeal, mostly monomeals, and eating a very, very large variety? Which one would you say is healthier? Which studies do you think are accurate or correct?
Well, I think, again, it all boils down to individual. There are people that I've eaten mono meals and they're good. When you eat a mono meal, if you got a lot of bloat or you had yeast or, there's something going on in your stomach, you eat one food, you're taking the stress off the digestive process. So doing that temporarily, I don't recommend mono meals for a lifetime. I don't recommend that. But if you do that temporarily, you give your body a chance to heal, you could do that. You could also eat much smaller portions. I don't recommend that you eat more than 3 meals a day under any circumstances. A lot of, up until about 10 years ago, a lot of people were recommending people eat 5 or 6 small meals a day. And a lot of weightlifters still are eating 4 to 5 meals a day. We're eating protein for every meal. It's building big muscle, but it's not conducive in the long run because most of these guys don't live a long time. So you could try a person could try a mono meal for a short period of time, but the whole problem is I think a lot of people carry some of this stuff too far, over too long a period of time. I know some people that were into fasting years ago, and they kept doing these long fasts, And it wasn't necessary because they did, once you do a long fast, a real long fast, like 40, 50 days, you shouldn't be doing repeated long fasts. You're just going into a state of deprivation. So you could do some short fasting. You could do, 7, 10 days, couple, 2, 3, 4 times a year. But I think people abuse a lot of things. People get, they get extreme. Like just like the people are getting extreme again about like a carnivore diet, which I think is extreme. There's people about, talk about living on just fruit, which I've seen the worst disasters in the world years ago. I see people try that. It was a disaster. I'm not against people eating fruit. I mean, I eat fruit myself, but I think anything could be done to obsess, excessively. If you're the type of person, you're a sedentary person, I don't recommend you sit down and overeat on fruit because your blood sugar is going up and down. You're just going to be creating hunger and everything. So fruit is like putting gasoline into your car. If you're not driving your car, you don't need a lot of gasoline. But as far as the sugar in fruit, being like processed sugar, and a lot of scientific people try to lump it all into the same basket, that fruit is like high fructose corn syrup. No, it's completely different. It's not the same. It's not utilized the way in the human body. I think fruit is, for a person that's active and everything, don't have any specific issues. I think it's a wonderful food.
What do you recommend as far as the bulk of somebody's calories? Do you recommend the bulk of somebody's calories or the quantity comes from vegetables?
Well, it depends upon what kind of a diet the person is on. If the person is on a diet where they're eating a small amount of animal protein, I don't recommend they get too many of their calories from the animal protein. If somebody wants to eat a moderate amount of clean, animal protein that's clean, I don't recommend a lot of it because you don't need, there's protein in everything. 1 pound of broccoli has 13 grams of protein. 1 pound of Brussels sprouts, and people say, oh, it's not complete protein. They're not getting it. We have an amino acid pool. I found out from fasted 44 days, 40 days, my protein was always in the normal range on the fast. Where was it coming from? It was coming from my weight loss. That's where it was coming from. We have an amino acid pool that supplies the missing amino acids. It has to be, otherwise you can't last that long on the fast.
Wow. Okay. So, do you recommend sprouts? Do you eat sprouts yourself?
Yeah, I recommend sprouts. Yeah, sprouts are they're very, very, very good. In fact, I eat either mung bean sprouts or sunflower lettuce or sprouts. I probably eat it just about 5 times a week. I like them, and I think they're providing a lot of nutrients that are really that are important, that will really complement a healthy diet.
Can you please talk about? So I was attacked by the carnivore diet, the carnivore community recently. So thank you for speaking extensively on protein. Can you talk about there's something in vegetables that these carnivores say that there's something in vegetables that if we eat them, they give off a poison. Have you heard this before?
Yeah,
that
I've heard
poisons us. What is it called? Alkaloids or I don't know what they call it, but it's a poison because the plants don't want to be eaten.
Listen, God bless anybody who's on a carnivore diet and do well. I don't want to distract anybody. I don't like mentioning names. I don't do that. It's not the way I operate. And I'm not a dogmatic person, but I've known people that are on high protein diets. And when they first start eating some vegetables, they had some difficulty. But you have to remember the nitrogenous byproducts. The nitrogenous byproducts, when you're eating, and there's a lot of confusion about that some people get constipated. There's no fiber in animal proteins. There is a complete breakdown. Some people don't go to the bathroom that much. But I don't know anybody that I'm aware of that just ate animal protein that was on it for many, many years. I know plenty of people that tried it in the first 3, 4, 5 years, felt good, and the reason is because they're leaving out cake, candy, soda, ice cream, drugs, whatever people are coming off. And a lot of people, animal protein is actually, if you don't understand what it does, you would think that if people had inflammatory disease, that it would make them worse. No, in the beginning, it actually, their inflammatory disease improves because they're leaving out cake, candy, soda, coffee. They're leaving out all these other things. It's what you leave out that frees your body up to heal. So you're getting enough, you're breathing clean air, you're drinking clean water, you're getting enough sleep, and you're getting enough calories. And hopefully it's from grass-fed beef and wherever they're getting it from. But I have a feeling a lot of these people are taking vitamin supplements to cover their back. I don't know, though. I haven't gotten into it. If they are, that changes everything. But I don't, it's no two ways about it. You're eating animal protein, you're not eating carbohydrates, and you're eating some vegetables, you're going to lose weight like crazy. And that's what most people are looking at. And that's the reason why people lose weight on the ketogenic diet. But the ketogenic diet is supposed to be higher in fat and lower in protein. Most people are following that diet. They're making it a high protein diet because, eating the animal protein is very satisfying and, it's pretty easy. You can go to any restaurant. So it's complicated. But anybody that's eating a carnivore diet, I suggest that they consider weaning themselves into eating some vegetables, and there's going to be a period of real discomfort when they do that. And that's because they haven't had any of this stuff. They kind of reintroduce it into their system. It's like feeding a newborn baby. You're not going to feed a newborn baby their stomach has to be prepared for, and they have to go through it. And there's a period of, whenever you change your diet, there's definitely a period of change. No matter if it's for the good or bad, you're going to go through a period of some kind of, some could be discomfort, but it might not be severe. But in some cases, it could be severe.
I want to ask you about oil. It's very controversial. There's studies that say there's no such thing as a healthy oil. How do you feel about oils? Do you consume them? Do you recommend them?
Well, you can leave them out. I mean, if you're getting your fat, well, there's a lot of people that don't recommend oils, don't recommend you eat nuts of avocados. I don't agree with that at all. You know what I mean? So fats, the big contradiction is that there are people that recommend starch-based vegan diets, and they recommend you don't eat no nuts, no oils, and things like that. And the starch-based vegan diet does work. It does work. There's a certain amount of fat in a lot of foods that people don't even realize it's in it. Then there's other people that, of course, recommend a ketogenic diet. They're claiming all kinds of health results. They're claiming that diabetes goes away and they help people with cancer. So there's a real major contradiction in the so-called experts here. And the reason for that is your body has the ability to adapt. Your body can adapt. Me, myself, I use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I put it on my salad with lemon. I don't overeat on nuts. I eat a small, I do eat some nuts. I like the nuts to be sprouted because of the enzyme inhibitors. I eat fruit. Now, when I was training to run marathons and ultra marathons, I ate a lot of fruit. A half hour after I trained, I used to train very, very hard. A half hour after I trained, I would eat quite a bit of fruit. But I didn't go into eating, mega pieces of fruit. I'm talking about eating 4, maybe to 6 pieces of fruit. I don't recommend people sit down and eat, tons and tons of fruit, even if they're training. It's not necessary, And I ran, when I first started training to run marathons, I wasn't eating enough fruit. And I was running with some people that were good runners, and they were kind of trying to disprove that you could do this on a raw diet. And I was not eating enough fruit. So I was able to train, but when it come time to run in a marathon, I didn't run well until I finally woke up. I said, wait a minute, I'm trying to run on an empty tank here. Now, you can either do it with starches or with fruit. I wasn't eating those starches. And a lot of these people were eating tons of starches. So what happens then, I woke up, and then I realized after I trained, I would eat plenty of fruit. And then within a week or two, I was able to run real well, you know.
Fred, who are some of your mentors?
Well, the first guy that introduced me to eating raw was a fellow named Frank, who was basically like a fruitarian, and he had tremendous amount of energy. But at that time, I was a real husky guy. If I showed you a picture of me, you wouldn't believe it was me. And I mean, I had a lot of respect for him, and he was a very kind and generous person. He was always bringing fruit and raw foods to my house and sprouts and things like that. And then he pointed me towards natural hygiene, which in the beginning it didn't make sense because of what I learned in school. It didn't make sense, you know. But then after I started to experience, so I was basically interested. A lot of Europeans, you know, Herbert Shelton was a guy that was into, you know, but I found out he really wasn't completely honest guy about what was going on, you know, from people that owned a cheese factory upstate New York, cut a cheese factory, that a lot of these people were saying they were eating a raw diet. They were eating cheese from the cut a cheese factory. The guy that owned the factory told me. He asked me if I was one of those guys. I said, no, I'm not one of those guys. So what happened, then I got interested in what was going on in Europe, where I learned a lot. Sergei Falaninov, a Russian guy. I learned a lot about fasting. I went through years of experimenting with fasting. I fasted a lot of people. Dr. Carl Adewale, Otto Buchinger. There was a lot of people, and they had a lot of fasting clinics in there. The Buchinger clinic, where they used to fast people, and they had people eating vegan diets. So, I mean, I tried to learn from everybody. And even today, I'm open to what people say. Nobody knows it all, you know. But I have people come to me. They tell me that, you know, I don't want to be a vegan, and if I could still get them healthy, I do. But you're always going back to keeping in mind that, you know, a lot of, like I spoke to a guy the other day, he has a fatty liver. It's not something you take lightly, you know. So I recommend a guy like that. You know, yeah, there's people say, so he was told to go on a ketogenic diet that the fat would go away. There's an element of truth to that, but that wasn't my recommendation. You know, your liver performs over 500 different functions. You got to make sure your liver's working well. Then your lymphatic system is like the garbage disposal system in your house. You don't take out the garbage in your house, you're in real trouble. So you got to make sure, you know, you're bouncing up and down on a trampoline or walking, or you have one of these lymphatic drainage machines. You know, get out in the fresh air, walk on the soft sand in the ocean. You know, if you can do some short fast, 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 day fast is very. It helps a lot. The only thing I'm leery about fasting now is a lot of people go on fast and they go back to eating the wrong things, and the impact is not good. When you go on a 15, 20 day water fast, and you don't leave out some of the junk, that junk is going to have more of a negative impact on you than before you went on a fast, because your body's more efficient, more sensitive. So every once in a while, somebody called me up, want to go on a 40-day fast or something. I tell them, start out with a short fast, start out with a week or so. If they're not on medication, nobody should go on a fast, they're on medication, unless they go to a fasting retreat like True North, where you have experts up there, medical people, Alan Goldhammer, who has a lot of experience, and 5 or 6 medical doctors. But I think what's part of the problem out there today, there's a lot of people that are giving people advice, and they have a lot of experience in one type of anecdotal situation. They've been vegan, so they think they know a lot about, you know, physiology and chemistry and medicine. You got to have a pretty good idea, because I have a lot of people come to me, have serious medical conditions, and they don't know, you know, you can't take them in over their head right away. I had a guy that was a miracle. He had 10% kidney function. They thought he had congestive heart failure. I don't think he didn't have congestive heart failure. They said he had multiple myeloma, and he got better from everything. by following an extreme diet. He went to an extreme diet and he got better. No medication, no nothing. The doctors up at NYU, they were very impressed with him. They said, whatever you're doing, keep doing. So you got to know who you're dealing with. You know, you can't experiment with other people's lives. If you're not sure about how to treat people with medical conditions, how to make a diet that fits that situation, their lifestyle, and not get them in over their head. God forbid, I'm 92 years old. I have some people really sick. If I die, I want them to know what to do or find somebody that has similar experience. A lot of people have the same suit of clothes for everybody. I don't believe in that.
Yeah. I have a question about the liver. If somebody has like a fatty liver and they want to help it to heal as fast as possible, what are some things that you would recommend or people stop doing? You know, people can start doing or stop doing to help their liver.
You want to give up. You want to give up all the processed food and the sugars and all the, a lot of people say it's okay to eat saturated fat, fried foods, which causes glycation. Then there is, short-term fasting. Maybe they could go to a fasting retreat like True North. Even, go on to if they want to go on to a starch-based diet, vegan diet, that'll do it. There's a lot of diets basically because of what you're leaving out will work. There's enzymes you could take from specialty enzymes, AST specialty enzymes. They have enzymes that are high in that break down fat that work well. It also works on body fat if you take it on an empty stomach.
What's the name of the company that you recommend?
AST specialty enzymes.
Okay, thank you. And then do you take them yourself?
The enzymes?
Yeah.
Something. What, for fat, you mean?
Just in general to help.
I'm thin. I'm skinny. The systemic enzymes, they're very, very important. Yeah, I have them in my house. I have my wife take them. My kids, if my daughters or my grandchildren get sick, I give them to them or someone to take them. I take them. If I think, if for some reason or other I had to eat late at night, I'll take a couple of digestive enzymes. Systemic, they have an immune complex there. It's spore antibiotics. They have something that's good, helps your immunity for the virus. You can call them up. You can ask for Alex. Call them up, ask for Alex. They're honest people. They'll tell you what to do. They won't try to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. Tell them you know me.
I definitely will. Is there any supplements that you recommend everyone take? For example, people are taking like barley grass juice powder. Is that something you recommend, or is there anything?
Yeah, no, all super green foods, they're good. Does everybody need them? No, everybody don't need them. I have my own formula of super green food. I don't take it every day. I find out with me, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's very big. With me, the less supplements I take, the better I feel. I take vitamin D and vitamin B12. The first 25 years that I was on a raw vegan diet, I didn't take no vitamin B12, but it was always around 350. And there's a gray zone between the normal, around 400 and under. So, but I take vitamin B12 now. I take a couple a week, to keep it up. I have it checked every once in a while. Listen, the human body is absolutely miraculous. I don't want to exaggerate. I'm not trying to sell anything here, but it's absolutely miraculous. But the thing is, you have to do it the way the design of the human body calls for. That's what I had a hard time learning in the beginning. There's so many variables, and you have to be able to spot the variables in each individual person.
Yeah, when you speak, Fred, I feel like you're trying to sell me on the power of the human body. That's what I feel like.
I'm just trying to tell you, your body is miraculous. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Here I am listen, if I'm 92 years old. 2 years ago, I pushed my grandson 15 miles through the hills. I ran with a bicycle carriage. Now I got a pinched nerve between L5, S1. So I got a real problem here. I even tried up until I have another grandson. I took them out. I can't do it now. I'm trying to get somebody to fix that for me. So without going for surgery, because I don't want to go into general anesthesia. It's risky for me. So if it wasn't for that pinched nerve, I'd be out there running like a rabbit. And I'm not saying that to boast. I'm not saying I'm not boasting. I'm not a boastful guy at all. I'm just a very ordinary guy, to be honest with you. But I just, I'm very, I don't know how to say it. I wish I didn't have this because I miss going out there. I have some friends of mine that are training, that are triathletes. And I mean, just a couple of years ago, I was able to go out and ride a bike. But I got to be careful now because what it's doing is from the car accident I had a very big car accident where it crushed my right shoulder. And over the period, I can't get my arm up in the air. I could have got surgery. I choose not to do it. But it's causing my spine to twist a little bit. And in the process of doing that, it's pinching the nerve root between L5S1. Otherwise, I'd be out there running and everything. And I've been into the martial arts. I had to stop kicking the bag and everything. So I do a little qigong, like breathing, which is very good. Qigong, I don't know if you know what it is.
Yes.
It's very, 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 very good. Very simple. And like yoga and all those type of things too.
Yes, I was prescribed qigong by my acupuncturist because I had very bad digestion. And I've been eating a raw vegan diet for 11 years now. So I shouldn't have bad digestion. But the qigong and focusing on sleep and de-stressing and being more mindful of my eating has really helped me to stop having any bloating at all. I didn't change my food. Qigong really helped.
Well, make sure you don't have a yeast infection, or if you travel a lot into the tropics, make sure you haven't picked up a parasite, because a lot of people will pick up parasites. You can have, if you have a parasite, you'll have bloating. You won't know what's the matter with you. It'll be a nagging, uncomfortable feeling, And a lot of people, if you go to Mexico, if you go even places in Florida, in the tropics, you could pick up parasites.
Wow. Yes, I've always wanted to get, I want to get tested for parasites. I have a question. I've had over 20 colonics. I've been eating healthy for so long. Do you think I could still have a parasite?
It's possible. All parasites are not in your colon. They could be, you have 18 to 20 feet of small intestines. I'm not saying you do have a parasite.
No, I'm curious.
Saying, you might want to do a cleanse of some type,
Yes. Speaking of cleansing and
what about a yeast infection? Do you think you could have a yeast infection?
Would it show on my blood test? Right?
Not necessarily.
How do you test for one?
You could tell. A lot of cases you could tell by your personal hygiene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I do, but I mean,
well,
the bloating,
is your stomach okay now? Are you okay now?
Yes, the bloating completely went away after I started doing qigong.
Yeah, qigong is fabulous. Yeah, qigong is fabulous.
And also, Fred, have you heard of this thing called Spinal Network Chiropractic?
Yes, I've heard of it.
So this really helped me as well with my digestion. And I never knew what it was. I don't know if you've experienced it yet, but it's incredible.
Oh, yeah. There's a guy right down here. He's a friend of mine. He's the guy that's trying to help me with my pinched nerve. He has a spinal decompression. Yeah. He has a spinal decompression table. He puts me on it, and it kind of it's opening me up. It helps me. Otherwise, I'd be in a lot of discomfort,
I want to ask real quick, just a few more questions, because obviously
I don't mind. Okay.
I can ask you a million questions. But I want to know, let's get back to the fasting real quick. So like a 3-4 day fast can be very powerful and healing, but I'm curious, what do you recommend people break their fast with? Because there's conflicting information on how to break a fast as well.
Well, you're not really into a fasting state for like 72 hours, 3 days. So, I mean, if you're on, that's why people that are drinking juices, that's not really a fast. That's like a liquid diet. So it's very easy to break a fast with very small amounts of food, just to give your body a chance to readapt. But if you're on, the longer you're on a water fast, say if you're on a 20-day, I don't recommend people go on a fast more than 7 days without getting supervision if they don't have not on medication, have a medical condition. But in order to break the fast, I mean, you could break with a little bit of juice, then introduce a little small amount. The key is to eat a little bit of food and don't lose control. That's the key. But if you're on a 3 or 4 day fast can break just about any kind of an addiction. People have addictions. So 3 or 4 days on water with rest, and anybody goes on a fast should be getting plenty of rest. Don't go out and run, start running and exercising because you might feel good. But just break it with very small amounts of food. You can break with a couple pieces of oranges every 2 or 3 hours. Break with a little bit of juice, salivate the juice before you swallow it. Then the second day, say you were on a 5-day water fast, right? So you have a little bit of juice, salivate it well and chew on it, swallow it, then eat a little bit of fruit, maybe throughout the day, every 2 or 3 hours, very small amount. Then about the 30th day, introduce very small salads. And then, if it's 5 days, then you can go back to your normal eating. But if you go on a water fast of any length of time, make sure you're going back to a better diet or a good diet, because that's where people run into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you, like you said at the top of the hour, Fred, once you go, to a healthier standard of living, it's very difficult for your body to go back to the crap.
A lot of people get sick. They don't realize that they got sick. That happens to me all the time. You might not get sick right away. It might take a couple of months. It might take a year. Going back, listen, I don't recommend. That's why I'm leery about recommending people go on a raw diet.
Yeah.
Because they run into a crisis and they really don't know what to do. And it's very understandable. Like when I was with the mold, it took me a lot to resist people, trying to convince me. No, everybody in my family told people to get lost. But there were people like when I was in the Mount Sinai Hospital. But one doctor who knew me, he knew about me, and he was the guy that told me to go home because, people were saying, that I wasn't eating the hospital food. Well, we got food here. I didn't want it. The food they had wasn't for a guy like me,
So do you currently eat any cooked food at all? Is there any healthy cooked food that you recommend?
No. I could eat steamed vegetables. I don't, because once you start eating the cooked food, you start to develop a lot of cravings. You could if you wanted to, as long as but be very careful, because your body craves a little more and then it branches out into different foods,
Why is cooked food so addictive?
It's the effect it has on your chemistry. It has an effect on your chemistry. When you first start, years ago, I experimented with that too. I wanted to see, I was on a raw food diet for maybe, I don't really remember how long, probably like 10 years or so. And I wanted to see what would happen if I ate some steamed vegetables. When I first ate the steamed vegetables, I put them in with the raw food, so the enzymes in the salad were going to affect me. So it didn't bother me, but I noticed I start to get hungrier. I start to, desire to eat other foods that were cooked was starting to captivate me. Remember, there's a major psychological component to hunger. The hunger drive works through the hypothalamus gland, the floor of your brain. It's right in there with the sex drive and all these other things. It's a very, very powerful urge. And if you start eating the cooked food, it's almost like you're hungry again, that you're not getting food. So I found that out very, very quickly. So I don't bring attention to myself, but most people know the way I eat and everything, like all my friends and my family, and and I don't say nothing. I never tell people, that's really not a good idea. But more people that really are interested, and I think what I have going is that people see me move around, and everybody knows I'm an old man, but they see me move around like forget about it, like it's nothing. So that has an impact on people, makes an impression.
Are you a big believer in colonics or enemas?
Yeah, I believe in colonics. I'm a big believer in colonics. Mike Perrine is a very dear friend of mine. He's a great
Yes,
colon
he's a good friend
therapist.
of mine too. Yeah,
Huh?
I'm very good friends with Mike, and I know Gil Jacobs as
Yeah,
well.
Gil's a friend of mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of colonics. I send people for colonics, but I don't think it's necessary for people to do colonics every day. I think that could be a mistake, you know. And some people believe in that. I don't believe in that. And at
Can
this
I?
point in my life, I don't do colonics because I don't overeat. I don't eat late at night, you know.
Yes. Can I ask you about water? What kind of water do you drink?
I have now. I used to be head of the Spartan nutritional program from you know, I don't know if you ever heard of Spartan Race Group.
Yes.
And the guy that worked for me said that Joe had asked me to look into. There was a guy from Louisiana made an alkaline water machine, and there was a number of alkaline water machines out there, and I really wasn't that knowledgeable about alkaline water, and I was kind of under the impression that it would impair your digestion because it neutralizes your stomach acids. So I called the guy up, and I liked what he had to say. In fact, we became friends. And I said, well, how am I going to know this works? So he says, I'll come up to New York. He says, I'll give you a machine. I'll put it in your kitchen, and you could try it. And I said, how much is it going to cost you? He didn't charge me, which is they are expensive machines. So I put that water in my kitchen, and I'm addicted to that water, that machine, that alkaline water. I get up in the morning here right now. I get up in the morning. I drink 1 or 2 of these first thing in the morning. You see that? Can you see that water? Can you see what's in it? You see the bubbles in there? It looks like a little bit of dirt. Can you see it?
It's hard to see,
hydrogen.
but
That hydrogen is converted to oxygen in your system. It gives you like a rush.
wow.
Yeah, no, this water is powerful. Now, there's a lot of people out there tell you don't drink alkaline water. It alkalizes your stomach acids and you can't digest your food. It actually does the opposite. If you drink it about an hour before you eat, your body actually secretes more digestive juices. You digest your food even better. You follow me?
Yes, yes. How do you feel about distilled water, Fred?
Distilled water?
Yes.
Yeah, distilled water is inert and it's very good on a fast. All the old-time natural hygienists recommended you drank distilled water. The only thing, I drank distilled water for many, many years. I don't know, 25, 30 years and everything. The only thing I found out that you're better off putting some kind of a mineral charge in it, drop a little bit of Himalayan sea salt in it because it's inert. And there is a possibility it could cause bone problems and it can cause some problems. But it's the best at absorbing, you know, endogenous waste out of your system. There's still people that push the distilled water. I have no problem with it, but you got to watch out. It is inert. It has nothing in it. In other words, it's a dead water. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Do you think that we should be including some salt in our diet, like some Himalayan pink salt or some sea salt?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of sodium in vegetables. You know, like you take like celery. A lot of people drinking celery juice now. Somebody told me today that they know a guy that runs marathons and he drinks celery juice, which is good. You know, celery juice is good, but you can on a plant-based diet you can get enough. You definitely can get enough salt. But I think a moderate amount of salt from a clean, not regular table salt, you could use it. It's not going to be harmful in any way. I use it moderately. I've been doing it for years, and it hasn't bothered me yet. You know what I'm saying? So they're personal choices. I think sometimes people, they're setting standards that might be too hard for many people. You know what I mean? So like you take I've had people who are using a little bit of salt, Himalayan or Celtic salt in their diet, and they beat cancer. So how bad could it really be? You know?
Agreed. Okay, just 2 more questions. One question is, do you think that we can eat too many vegetables?
You can overeat on everything, on anything. Yeah, if you eat an enormous salad, then eat a big bowl of steamed vegetables, sure, you're going to get bloated. You could have gas and everything. Yeah, you can overeat. I think overeating is a real problem. I think that's one of the main problems a lot of raw fooders have when they eat the first couple of years around raw foods, because they're eating emotionally, psychologically. They're trying to get that same satisfaction they had when they used to eat a lot of dense foods, you know?
So how can we, I completely agree. How can we eat less? How can we learn to enjoy life eating less?
Well, you still can eat, still eat plenty of food. You got to be, you got to learn how to eat mindfully, not mindlessly. You got to take a look at what you're eating and say, if you were feeding that food to your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, would you tell them that's too much? I used to have a guy that used to work with me. He used to be able to eat a salad that was enormous. He cut way back after a while, but it was just too much. So you can eat a good sized salad, whatever else you're eating, reasonable portions. I don't recommend that you overeat on nuts. 2 to 4 ounces is more than enough. You can eat a whole avocado in spite of the fat. A lot of people tell you don't eat it. I eat a guacamole or an avocado every single day. I learned that there's an abstract science out there that's very, the abstract science is they're trying to apply that to people that eat a vegan or a raw food diet. I know people that do that. They take people to all the science, like they say, listen, if you're not getting omega 3s, you're going to run into problems. I haven't had omega 3s in 60 years. Cognitively speaking, I have no problem. So there's something wrong with that paradigm. Now, if you're running into trouble and you want to take it, you think it's going to help you because you set you up your chemistry years ago where you've been eating a lot of fish. You can do it. I'm not against it. I'm not against that type of stuff. But I believe the human body was designed to eat a plant-based diet. We don't look like lions, tigers, big cats, or crocodiles. I believe we have adjusted to eating some animal protein over a period of thousands of millions of years. I believe you can live on, a radical diet for, sometimes, you can live on a diet that's a lot of fruit or, a lot of rice or a lot of animal protein. If you're leaving out all your, cake, candy, soda, ice cream, you're out in the fresh air going on, you can live quite a long time. But we're not designed to live on a long life on those extreme diets. And it's not good sense. It's like years ago, I had a woman come to me from the Netherlands, and she thought I was a breatharian. I said, lady, I don't believe in that nonsense. And there's a scientific explanation why you might be able to get by on air. If you want to try, go right ahead, but that's not gonna come from me. Or I'm gonna put everybody on juices for the rest of their life. Because over the years, I've seen a lot of people that were extremists in raw foods get in trouble. I don't want to mention any names. I mean, I know some people. Listen, you got to look at the idea to do this is to have a high quality life, to live as long as you possibly can, and maybe see your grandchildren, have whatever you choose to do, but to have a high quality life and be disease free. There is a way to do that, and you're not going to do that. There's people telling people to use mushrooms, and I'm not talking about portobello mushrooms. Somebody asked me a question about mushrooms, or DMT. That is not something I would do or recommend for other people. You might become more enlightened, but that doesn't work out in the long run. That's not for me. And then, you have to have the experience, to see people that have done it. There's a lot of other stuff you could do. If somebody comes to me and they have cancer and a lot of pain, and there's things that are helping people now. There's supplements that are helping people that really do work. If somebody says, Freddie, do you think I should try medical marijuana? And they're in a lot of pain. I say, yeah, go ahead. If it's going to help you, get you through the pain rather than take some pharmaceutical that might, and there is some evidence it helps people with the cancer. Do I sell it or do I? No, I don't do it. But people ask me the questions. There aren't too many questions I haven't heard already. People have asked me the most unbelievable questions. So if I don't know the answer, I lay awake the next night and think about it or try to find the answer.
Yes.
Isn't some of these questions, they're really anecdotal. They're not scientific, I mean, you're doing fabulous on a raw diet. Would you tell everybody to do that? I hope not. I don't know if that'd be a good idea. Would you tell your 85-year-old grandmother to do it? I don't know about that, You got to be careful. You got to have a pretty good idea what you're doing. Plus having what I tell a lot of people, if you're going to take advice from somebody, say like about a raw food diet, make sure that they have at least 5 years experience eating 100% raw, and they have some clinical knowledge. Because a lot of people have that, they have a lot of, they've done it for themselves. They don't realize they could get somebody else into trouble, I don't know. It's very confusing out there with all the different, the carnivore diet, the ketogenic diet, and there's some truth there's truth to what people say they do it, and they leave everything else out, and they're improving. But there's nothing new out there. This is all something that's been recycled. It's got a new suit of clothes. That's all it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing new.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I need to ask you about, I'm sure you're familiar with the mucusless diet and Arnold Ehret's work. So do you believe that mucus in the body is the cause of all disease? And how do you feel about a completely mucusless diet? Because I know you eat avocado, you eat some nuts, you eat some oil. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Arnold Ehret was certainly wrote one of the best books out there. But the human body, subject to certain things we're doing, will produce mucus. So he recommends a diet that was high in fruit and things like that. That's good. I mean, but I don't think that's a good enough reason to avoid eating avocados and things like that. You know what I mean? I don't recommend that you overeat on those type of things. And I don't think a lot of people can just live on a diet that's, solely fruit and vegetables and things like that. I don't think so. Some people could do it. I've done it over a long period of time. I know you can get enough protein from just eating vegetables. I know you can because I did it.
Yes, you have. This is the last question, Fred. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for your generosity and for taking time to talk to me today, working through the Zoom issues. I really appreciate this, your time. And so my last question to you today is, if you could give a message to every single person in the world. I mean, you've already shared so much wisdom and knowledge, and you always do every time you speak. But if you could share just one thing with everyone in the world, no matter how old they are, no matter what language they speak, what is a message that you would like to say to everyone?
Well, I think the best thing I could say is to keep it simple. And if you really want to get results and you're really committed, is to leave out 100% of the processed food, because the processed food is a modern day curse. That's what's killing people. So even amongst people that are raw fooders, there's so much confusion whether you can eat sprouts or you shouldn't eat sprouts, whether you should eat fruit, you can't eat fruit. If you drink celery juice and cucumber juice, or don't drink any carrot juice. So there's so much confusion. But all those programs, they all work to one degree or another, because they're all leaving out cake, candy, soda, ice cream. I mean, people ask me if I eat sprouts. I love sprouts. Are they very good? Could you do it without eating sprouts? Yeah, you could. I did it for years without eating sprouts. So you got to get a good idea of what's really happening. But it all begins with leaving out the processed food. So you got a lot of leeway by leaving out the processed food. Anything that comes in a box or a can, or wrapped up in paper or anything like that, if you get rid of just by getting rid of the processed food alone, you're going to become a healthier person. If you get rid of the processed food and you eat a moderate amount of food and eat a variety of different plant-based food, just by getting rid of the processed food, you could get rid of type 2 diabetes and a lot of other problems. You don't have to go to the extremes, you know. That's why when people talk about, you know, the extremes, there's people that do it, but I don't recommend it. I mean, because it don't work in the long run. It does not work in the long run. I've been watching this now for 70 years. I see who lives a long time and who don't live a long time. A lot of the old timers that have a big reputation, they didn't live long. They died from disease. Who died in a swimming accident, had a heart attack? There's a lot to this. So use common sense, you know what I mean? The key is, can you get all the nutrients that you need on a raw food diet? Of course you can. If you're not doing well, then you have to explore why you're not doing well. You have to take a look at why you're doing well, why you're not doing well. If you're doing well, that's good. Right?
Right. So I recommend, thank you so much, Fred. I recommend everyone go get your healthy journey. This is an amazing piece of work. And I thank you so much, Fred, for your time, for your wisdom, for your experience, for
okay.
being.
I don't mind. I've written other books, you know. I've written books with Victorious and Brian Comet, Our Elder Speak. There's other books that I've written with those fellas.
Oh, really? You wrote a book with Victorious?
Victorious and Brian and Gabriel Cousin. It was Our Elder Speak, and then there's another book. It's called My Healthy Journey. But you know, expose yourself to all the information that you possibly can, so you could have a better idea of what's really going on. You know,
Fred, when you called me earlier, I was actually on Zoom with Victorious. It's so funny.
Yeah, I've known Victor. He's a fabulous guy. I've known him from. How's he doing? I know he was having trouble with his eyesight.
He is so sharp. Yeah, his eyesight is not ideal, but he is just unbelievably sharp. I can't believe it. What a guy.
Yeah, he's a great man.
Yes. Okay, so thank you, Fred, so much. I really appreciate you and your time, and you're amazing. Thank you for being a voice for the animals, for just for the humans to like look at and see that it's possible. It is possible to be a vegan for so long and be healthy. And it's really important that we have people like you in the world, you know? So thank you so much, Fred.
Okay, my pleasure. Bye-bye. All